Hi everybody, in today's tutorial I'm going to go into Blender and I'm going to go over how I make a racetrack like this with a nice landscape in the background. And I know I've done this video like this a couple of times. This is I think the fourth time, but this time there's well, I have a land with a track. I have the track split into pieces so you could use it for different collision detectors. And I'm also going to use the Blender curve properties so that when I put a hill in the track that the track doesn't twist and I control the twisting. All right, so let's see. Here is a track that I built. And as you can see here, there is a big height difference up here, but the track still stays facing up. What I had happening in the past with the track would it would twist on this axis and twist horizontally when the track was going around. And what I realized was like when I pick the curve, I could use this tool here above the material tool. This is the pick the curve, and then pick this tool here for the curve modification. Also, the track is very smooth looking. You can't see any of the joints in the track. That's because here there's the resolution of the curve that I could control. So I could like bring down the resolution to almost like a 1, where all the control points of my curve, they just lock on target there, and then bring it up. And you can see how everything is smooth until I think the maximum smoothness here is like 64. But at some point here, the smoothness is good enough that you don't see any hard angles and everything's a smooth turn. So that's one thing. The other thing is the twist method. This is what was happening to me, that I was having my track get twisted. So I changed this when I have the curve selected to the Z up. You see how here Z is the up angle. So as it twists, the Z stays pointing up and the track doesn't like start going from horizontal to turning in on itself. But here are some of the other settings. This is the Z up. This is the minimum, which this one was giving me trouble. You see here there's like a little bump in it. And I guess you could see that the track twists. Anyway, there was a little bump in there. And then there's this one, the tangent. Whoa, this one was like the total opposite. You see how the track just twisted with the twisting. So I turned it to, say, Z up. So that's like a real quick. Then there's the curve deform by radius, or by stretch, or by bounce clamp. Okay, so I just started playing with this thing. So let's do one from scratch. Okay, so here I'll just say I'll make a new collection here, and I'll call it track 5. Okay, now here in track 5, let me hide track 4, track 5, and let me start off by adding. Let's add the, first I'm going to add that grid that's going to be my landscape. And for the add grid subdivisions, I'm turning it to 100 by 100. And for the size of the grid, I set 200. That way it's the same as my other tracks that I had there. And you can see here, the 100 by 100, this is how fine the grid is. If I had it at 50, you can see it changes. So I'm just giving it enough resolution here. For this is going to be my land. But right now I'm just using this as a outline of the land area that I'm going to build a track on. So I added that grid, and I'll call this grid 5 for track 5. Then I'm going to add another object. I'm going to add my track segment. So I'll add a cube. Okay, and for the grid, let me just move the grid down slightly in the z-axis. And then go back to my cube, have it selected, and let me say frame selected, view, frame selected. Let's come down to the cube. Let's view the hard surface. You notice how the rendering has these nice hard edges. That's done right here with the, I just click on this and then say cavity. So that makes it have those nice hard edges. And without cavity, it kind of looks like this, but this helps emphasize where the edges are. And then over here, I have the statistics of how many triangles are in the scene. So that's done right here with the overlays and the statistics. And this is Blender 3.2. All right, so back to this cube. This cube is going to be my, it's going to be basically my my track. Okay, and I guess let me just name these with capitals. Grid 5. This is my track 5. Okay, my track segment 5. So here is a cube. Now let me start shaping it for the track. So let me shrink it down a little bit and spread it out a little bit. Now let's see which way the array goes, because we're going to use the array modifier. So I'm going to go over here and add the modifier to the track 5 for array. Oh, and I see the array goes this way. All right, so basically what I want to do is the array goes down the x-axis. All right, so how wide will my track be? I think that's about the width that I'll use. And then I'll go into edit mode and start cutting this up. So first cut, let me just make a loop cut down the middle. And then I'll get rid of half of the track. Let me turn on X-ray mode. And let me do vertex select. And then I'll select these vertices, right click and say delete the vertices. Now I have half of a track. So whatever I do on one side, it's going to happen on the other side, because what I'll do is I'll add another modifier with track selected. I'll add another modifier for mirror. Where is it? Right here, mirror. And it looks by default it's mirroring this way. So I just want to change it to mirror on this yellow line, which is the y-axis. Oops, the y-axis. There we go. All right, now that I have my size of my track, basically I could hide the grid. So let me just click on this eyeball. So now I just see my track segment. When I make my track, I'm going to have like some little street lights that come up, but I don't want them to come up that close to each other. So let me have the track here. Let me press A, and let me just make each segment of the track a little bit longer. Okay, and then I will do some more loop cutting. So one main loop cut I'm going to do is for the barrier. So let me drag this loop cut all the way to the edge so that there's just a little bit of wall here. Then I go to face select, and I'll select this face. Oh, I'm still on loop cutting. And did I make some loop cuts by accident? Yes, I did. Let me Control Z to undo those I made accidentally. Here, pick the selection tool and turn off X-ray and select this face right here. And then press the E key to do an extrude. Press the E key and then pull this up. And this will be like my barriers on the side of the road. Okay, now when I make my racetrack, I have like the road, then I have the little gravel part of the road. I'm going to add some more loop cuts here for the gravel part of the road. So I'll leave the gravel part of the road to be about here. But when I do my texture mapping, I want to have a little yellow line. So I'll just drag another loop cut out to there to make my yellow line. And just in case I want to do the white lines down the middle of the road, let me get a little closer here, because this is like down the middle. Oh, let me turn on clipping for my mirror. The loop cut, and I'll drag it all the way so it's about the same thickness as my yellow line. I'll put it like that close, and that doubles up. Now I want to have like my little street post sign. So I'll have a loop cut like this, but I'll have one. Now that's 3. That's an odd number. This is an even number of cuts. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have that there. Go back to my selection mode and go to the knife tool over here. I'm going to select the knife tool, and then I'm going to have my street lamp. I just want to have a little square here. So I'm going to click and enter. And then this face, let me go back to select and face select. I'll select this face, and you'll see I'll use the extrude tool again by pressing E or pressing right here. I pressed E, and then I just drag it up. This is going to be my street lamps that are going to go along. So that's the height of it. Then I'm going to press E one more time like this, and then I will, okay, I want to get this select, view frame selected. Okay, good. Now I can rotate on that. Then here, select this face right here, and E, I'll just drag that out to be like the light posts that are going down the road. And now you can see why I made the track segment a little bit longer, so the light posts aren't like right on top of each other, but they're, you know, split out far from each other, a little bit further from each other. So now I have like the shape of my road, but I have extra faces that are not going to be seen when this road is in an array. So let's go ahead and frame select it here, and let's select these faces right here, because these faces are where the arrays kind of connect to each other. So I could delete those faces and save some triangles. And you can see right there on the other side of this, there's faces right here too. So on the array, let me just click on this little TV set icon. So I could select these faces and get rid of these faces too. I hold down the Shift key and click on each of the faces. Ooh. Then right click and delete those faces. So I got rid of those. Now I could turn the array modifier back on, visible, And now at the bottom, these won't be seen either as I'm playing my game and the track is going around. I'm not going to see these faces on the bottom. So I could select these faces here, click, 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 and click. I can select these faces here, and I could delete these faces, and these will all be unnecessary faces to my game. Now, when I'm driving, the track is going to be on that landscape that we're going to make here with the grid. We're going to make a landscape, and sometimes the track may not be pressed directly against the ground, but we don't, I don't want to have the track look like it's floating in the air. So let me click the vertex mode, and what I'll do is I'm going to pull one of these vertices down. So I'll use the transform, and then I'll pull it down. Ooh, what's that? That's kind of odd. Control Z to undo. Why is it pulling everything down? Well, that's because right here, this proportional editing tool is on. So let me unclick it. So I only moved the single vertex. And now I'm going to pull this down, a lot. And this is going to allow me, for when the track is above the ground, that it looks like, okay, it's a suspended road. So I'll just really pull it down a lot. And then to make it look nicer, let me just select these here, pull these down halfway too, and just a little bit of aesthetics here. Pull this down, and then take these last 2 points here and use them. Try to make it look like road, like elevated road surface, and that looks kind of flat. So I'm just gonna go to edge mode here, or maybe just vertex mode, and just to give it a little bit more oomph, some difference, I'll just pull it out like this, just to give it some, a little bit of things. Looks like it's a bridge or something when it's above the ground. So now I have my track made. Now I just want to go ahead, go back to, I'll stay in edit mode. So I have the track made, and let's put the grid back on visible. So you see what I mean about if it's above the ground, that it looks like it's still connected to the ground. So now with the grid, let's go back to object mode. I kind of made my track segment, and it's an area 2. And let me add a curve in here that's going to be the path that my track is going to follow. I have to add a curve. So I'm in object mode, add curve, and I'll just simply do a circle. It's closed. And then here I could just make sure the radius of the curve, you see that orange line there? Play with that. I think I'll just leave it like that. And then I'll go into edit mode for the curve. And now I have the little points, the control points that I could click on and move around. So let's make the track a little bit more interesting. So I am directly overhead mode here. And first let me just kind of give this track some type of shape. Okay. And then maybe here I want to add another control point. So I'll select these 2 points, right click, and say subdivide. And now I have another control point in the middle here between those 2 points that I could put in here if I want to. And I could pick the control point in the middle, or I could pick one of the ends and move that too. Okay. And I just want to get a track that kind of uses up the space nicely, that's here. So maybe I'll add another, click, right click, subdivide, and then get another control point right here. And just try to make something interesting. I don't know. How's that? So that's the track from the top view, the curve from the top view. But now, as you can see, that's totally flat. So let me select a point there, and let me lock it on the y-axis. And now I could make a height, make a hill over here. I could maybe pick this up, and there's no car that's going to go up the side of a mountain, but I could make a hill go up, maybe there a little bit. And you can see this went up, this goes down a little, right? But I'm giving my track a hill. Now I'm going to apply the track segment to the curve. So go back to object mode, select my track. I have my array, I have my mirror. I'm going to add another modifier. I'm going to add under the deform curve. Okay, so it's added right here at the bottom. Now I just have to pick the curve that I'm going to bend my track on. So let me just name this curve here. Curve 5 for track 5. Go back to track 5 and go ahead, and I'm going to pick the curve object, curve 5. Okay, and you can see that the track is starting to curve on the curve, and already there's a twist deform that's starting to happen. So now my array, I have to give it a count so that it goes around the track. So you can see here, I'm starting to add. I'll just see how many pieces I have to add till I could actually connect. And when I connect, there may be an overlap. You see right there may be an overlap. And the overlap is going to also be noticeable because you can see my two street lamps are going to just collide into each other. So I could either leave that overlap like that, or I could try to adjust my curve size a little bit better. So let me go back to selecting the curve and go to edit mode. I'm going to try to just move the control point around so that, see, there's a gap there, and right there they just touch. So I decided to just move my curve so the pieces just fit. But you could see here how the curve is twisting in odd ways, and especially the cars come over here, the curve's twisting outward. See how both sides of the track here there's a lot, and then on here there's nothing. I don't want that twist. So with the curve selected, and I'm in edit mode on the curve, I could go here and pick the properties for the curve. This is how I got to that. This is a 3D curve. And let me play around with the twist method. So right now the twist method is the minimum, and you can see how the track is twisting off. Let me pick the Z up method. Okay, so now the track, it doesn't twist off. It's facing upward on the Z. Good, that's kind of what I wanted, better. Now what about the, let's see, is the track curves all smooth everywhere? Not really. Right here you can see the indentation. So I wonder, let me just try smooth. Yeah, that's not doing anything, so I'll leave this at 0. Let me try the resolution. It's at 12. And let me try increasing the resolution one thing at a time until I can't see any notable. Oh, it's starting to break apart. I just want the track to be really, really smooth. So I could just bump it to the max 64. And now I got a little segment there. So let me pick this track. I got a little crack there. So let me pick this, and only on the Z, I want to move this so it's connected together. All right, so I got a smooth curving track. I have it pointing up, and I have it on the landscape. So I could now, I could do some things. Let me go back to object mode. I'm going to select my track. What I'm going to do is I'm going to texture color my track. So here the modifier, the material, and let me go to UV editing. Okay, UV editing. All right, so what do I got going here? Let me just show the screens a little better. Here I have track 5 selected. Right now I'm in object mode. I want to go to edit mode because I'm going to be picking faces to edit here of the track, and it looks like my selection is kind of off target. So let me pick something and then say view frame selected. There, that's nicer. Now I could zoom around on that. I want it to be face select mode. So what I got to do now is I have to add a material for this mesh object, my track 5. So here I have the material properties. I'll say new for a new material. Then down here on the base color, I'm going to click that, and I'm going to use an image from my material. And I have to open the image I'm going to use. So I know I have one here, Blender JPEG. All right, I'm going to use that material. And by default, there's some texture mapping that happens. Everything happens to be somewhere in this brick thing. But what I'll do is I'll select all the faces by pressing A. And then here on this side, you could see that these are the faces. What I'm going to do before I start moving the mappings onto different areas of my image, I'm just going to use UV Light Map Pack. Okay, and what that did was just kind of gridded out the texture mappings. Now I'm going to scale this down to almost nothing, to 1 pixel almost, 0. Basically small enough to fit in one of my color things. Because what I'm going to do is I am just going to color the road a color. Bam. Like a very dark road. There. Black, right? And now I could select different faces. Oops, darn it. Let me go back to my rectangle select box. I can select different faces, click, 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 and give different colors to different parts of my road. And this is why I kind of did those loop cuts, so I could do stuff like this and color my road up almost like Etch-a-Sketch. Okay, this is going to be my yellow line, and then down the middle, it's a very tight one there. I'll select this down the middle, and I'll make my white lines. There, see? So now I got a road colored. And now for the size of the road, I could, do what I want. I could leave this really dark, but I'm going to make the barriers pretty. I could just pick a different color for them. maybe green, maybe yellow. Somebody keeps texting me. Maybe red, danger, red. I'll just pick a blue, okay? Now on the outsides, I can also texture something. So I'm basically just coloring in, filling in the lines. And on the south side, let me make it like stone. There we go. All right, so I'm happy. I colored in my road. Now, if I go back to object mode, you'll see that the road returns to the curve. The modifiers are applied. When I'm in edit mode, it comes off the modifiers. All right, so I got the road done. Next, I'll have to do, let's do the grid. And let's turn the grid into a landscape. So I'll go back to modeling. I'll go back to track 5. And next thing I'll do is do the grid. So let's enter into edit mode. Oops, I haven't selected the grid. Object mode, select the grid, then go into edit mode. All right, now we see all the pieces here. And I'm gonna go into, just leave it at face select. So now what I could do is, I'm gonna use the circle select tool. I could go around and I could select some faces. Now right here on the track, I have this raised hill part. So let me just select this stuff on the track. Let me use the inverse square. And let's raise this up. Let me press G and then Z to move straight up. And first I'll move it up and I'll keep it there with the first pieces. And then now from there, oops, let me get a top view again. And I'll just press Z. And raise up a little bit higher. G, Z for that part. And it looks like over here on this side, press Z again. Do a little bit more picking up. So G, Z. Here we go. So just trying to raise the ground underneath the parts here. Z. Oopsie, that's the upside down and that's the top side. And like right around here. And GZ. And this is, I have the proportional editing so I could scroll the mouse wheel and get some more. And maybe like right over here, select these faces. GZ. Alright, so that it has, maybe right here too, sorry. I'm being artistic, and artisticness is pickiness. Pickiness, I'm trying to express myself a certain way. Alright, so that's the ground rising up just for the hill part that I have there. And if this is the hilly part, maybe I could make some canyons and stuff over here. So let me select some areas out, like this maybe. Okay, select out some random stuff, press G, Z. I press Z to lock it on the Z axis. Now, like a lot of these, what was that? Oh, it just shrinks its influence. A lot of these cliffs here, let's see. If we just have it like this, but maybe not that high, like this high. Then, how do we enter? I'm gonna hold on to that same selection, and now I'm gonna do the random to make some more jaggedy edges, and then G, Z again. Wait a minute. Where's the little circle? I'm scrolling my mouse wheel. Oh, okay. See, so I scroll my mouse wheel, and I could get some influences there. So, use some huge cliff walls. Boom. You cannot see past those cliff walls. And then maybe, I'm just going to be creative. Well, maybe I should do it like this. GZ. These are, ooh. Look at those random cliff walls, and some of them are bumping into the track. That's why I didn't want to get too close. And maybe right there, GZ. Just give, this is where I get all that variety from. So how's that look? I'm gonna come around the track, drive through there, and then out here in the plains, maybe I could just have some raised areas, you know, something, and raise these guys up a little bit, and just so everything's not totally flat. And I wonder if I could experiment with an idea to make something that looks like trees. So let me go back to, instead of the circle select, the box select. So I could select individual points. And I could say that I'm going to try to make like an area of trees right here. And then for the selection method, I will say sharp, like a tree. Okay. Then I say G, Z to lock it in. And let me influence tighter. And try to make a forest of pine trees, maybe with these points that I select. And then with this, there's a tool here. Where is it? Shrink and fatten. Like try to, oh no, that's not it. That's not, I thought I could do something with that. Let me try to make some more trees. Let's make a forest of trees, and I'll be trying to make these trees green, you know? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to color them green, and that'll help me tell the user that I just made trees. So get all these points, G, Z. So those mountains, those are plains, and these will be like trees. And then maybe I could make a winding river. So let me just go to top view, and let me go back to the circle select. And I think I want to zoom in kind of close here because the river is going to get through here. It's going to come through here pretty tight. So I'll select these. Oh, I'm on point select. Let me go back to face select. I'm going to come through here. The river is going to come right through here. It's going to do that. And let me hold down the shift to add to my selection. And the river is going to come through here. But let's make it bigger. Okay, so that. And now since this is going to be my water line, this will go down. So I'll press G, Z, and I'll suck down. Oh, and it's still on the hard select, but all right, that's going to be like the river. So how will I execute all this color selection? I textured, let me look at it with the colors for the road. Okay, so now I'm going to color in this land. So let's go to UV editing. I'm going to use the same method I was using before for the track. So I have the grid selected. I'm in edit mode. I say new for a new material. And then here for the base color, I want to use image texture. Now I tell it to open up an image texture to use. I go find my file, Blender, okay? So then I have this. So first things first, let me texture the entire thing. A. Wait a minute, wait. Before I texture this, let me do something. Let me go back to modeling mode. Before I texture it, let's try to reduce the polygon count because this grid has 20,000 triangles, but I could see in a lot of places I don't need to have these little grids. I can get rid of some of these triangles. So I'm going to use a modifier on the grid. So let me go to the modifiers. I have the grid selected. I have modifiers, and I'm going to have to look at it in object mode, okay? I'm going to add a modifier. It's the decimate modifier. And right now this is 100. 1%, 100 basically, but as I lower the percentage, the triangles first went up. But then they should go down right here from 5,000. See, so here I have 10,000 faces, but as I lower it, the polygon count gets lower, and I get less triangles. Now it's from 10,000, now I have 3,000. Okay. And I just lower it enough to the point where I still have the visibility of my terrain, but I don't lose too much. I just want I want it to still look the same, but I don't want it to have as many polygons. So how's 0.03? I have less faces. Oh, you know what I should do? Sorry guys, let me go back to modeling mode. I did the decimate modifier, but I should apply it. So object mode with the grid selected, and if I like the way that looks, then I should do the apply. Bam. Now when I go to UV editing mode and I press to go to edit mode on the grid, I can say A, and I can see there's less triangles there. You see how some of them were melded together. All right, now I have the texture. So let me just give the whole thing one color, a base color to start with. So here I click in this side and I press A to select everything. And I'm going to be using my little color boxes. So let me scale this down, 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 almost till it's like about 1 pixel, as much as possible to fit in one of these color boxes. And let's say that the base color is a green. So which green do I like? This bright green. Okay. And then now I'll start selecting layers. Let's say, let me try to get these trees over here. So let's try to angle this. Angle down, get closer. I know what I'll do. I'll just frame selected. So let me just select the trees over here. All right. And then say frame selected. Bam. All right. So I'm going to zoom into these trees and try to see them from a flat point of view right here like this. And then use the X-ray mode. X-ray right here. So it could select right through stuff. And then I have face select. And now I'm just going to try to select all these trees. Bam. Let's see if I got them. Almost got him. Looks like I'm missing a face right here. Bam. Oh, that's not the face. Oh, there's the face. That's not the face. And all right, so now I have like the trees selected from this green, but then I'll make these trees darker green. Maybe this green over here. Okay, so now see how they stand out. Yay. All right, that's good. All right, now let's go to side view. And from side view, I could select things out. I know right here, that's the middle line. Right here below that middle line, this is the water line. Let me try point select. So I can just select all these points in the water line. And yes, there you go. Those are all the faces for the water. And now I'll move that into a blue for water. Okay, see how that looks? Now let's go ahead and select the next line, which is, that's the grass line. Now this here, this line is going to be the rocks line. And let me go back to face select mode. Ooh, I gotta watch out for my trees. Maybe I should have selected the trees afterward. Or maybe I could just, I may have to do the trees over again because with this method I may overlap selecting these rocks here. Right at the ground line. To the ground line. Let's see how that looks. Pretty good. I got some of the trees in there. Now what color do I want the rocks to be? It looks like I have two different color areas here. So let me try to put it together. Smart UV project. Okay. So let me try to make sure I have everything selected. Press A. And again, zoom it down to like 1 pixel or close to 1 pixel. And then move that over the color I want the rocks to have. Nice, bright, and cheery brown. Okay, let's see how that looks. That looks good. I got some dead pine trees here now. But I didn't get everything. I still have to get this part here. It's like I have trouble. Get it up in the middle, get closer. Let me see if I just look at it on the Y. And the Y. If I try to get these faces here down to the ground, selected. Okay, that's better. And now again, I have two different things, so I have to do this again. Then I have to press A to make sure I have everything, and then zoom it down to fit into one of my color boxes. And then give it the color I want it to get, which I think was this brown. All right. So now all I have is the problem with my trees here that got unselected. So I'll just do the method I had again. Let me just check around a little bit. So my canyons are that color. There's grass. I could want to do a little bit of selection inside the canyons here. So, okay, press Z and get these here that those are rocky really. So let me just use the circle select again and try to select out all this rockiness here. So that maybe I'll give them a different color, just more colors to make things a little bit more exciting. And then down in here, all this bumpiness. And back here, holding down the shift key. Okay, and out here, and out here. Then this over here. All these bumpy bumpies. Giving them a color. And then let me zoom in so my selection tool is a little smaller. And I'm just going to give a different color to these bumpy bumpies. All right. So smart project again, bam. And then A, same idea, scale it down. Scale it down, and then move it over a brown. Or it could be a gray. To be like hard rocks. And now let me go to fix these trees that got unselected. So I want those trees, view, frame selected, bam. And all right, this is the best view. Okay, this is the best view. And I just try to make sure I have these trees selected again. Trying to make sure I have all the faces of those trees selected. Looks good. And now I'll give the trees their color. First, let me do the Smart UV project again. Bam. A. Scale it down. Then move it on to one of the greens. Zoom in here so I can see and pick a green for these trees. I know I have a light green for that, and I picked a darker green for the trees. I picked this. Okay? Tree area, rock area, water area. Now let me go back to the modeling mode and see all this stuff here without anything being selected. And this is the terrain with a track that I made. All right? And last thing I have to do is take the track and split it into its pieces. So I'm in object mode. So this is the last thing I have to do. I'm going to take the track, and I'm going to have to apply the mirror at this point in time. Apply while I'm in object mode. And then go to edit mode. Okay, so I applied the mirror. Now my track, you can see, has these 4 pieces. Let me select something and then frame selected. Okay, it has these. I'm gonna break it into pieces. So I'm going to pick. Whoops. Oh, let's go back to box select. Let's edit mode. And hello, come on, open up. Ay. Hold down the mouse. Select box. So I want to make sure I get this half of those lines. Oops, looks like I got both of them. This half of these lines, and this is going to be I'm going to separate by selection. And when it separates, it's not selected, so it goes back on the curve. And that, I'm going to rename that part that I just separated road 1. And then the other half of the road over here, oops, this is going to be selection road 2. I did a mistake. Let me just go back. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. It's, did everything get selected properly here? Did I get this? Yeah. Okay. Separate by selection. And this is road 1. All right. Road 1. I think to make things a little bit easier to see, let me turn off the landscape. And it's what I feared. I fear, like, what am I seeing? Oh, I'm seeing a face here that was still there from the that I should have deleted. These faces down below. I gotta delete them. Let me select them and then just delete these faces. Bam. That's what I was seeing. Go back to Z. So this was road 1. It went back to the curve. This is road 2. Let me separate that. Bam, it goes back to the curve. And right here, I'll rename it road 2. Then over here on this side, this is going to be gravel 1. Separate by selection. Call it gravel 1. And then over here on this side, this is going to be separate by selection. Gravel 2. Gravel 2. And now for the barriers of my road. So the barriers on this side, bing, bang, bing, bang. This is going to be separated. And this is going to be my barrier 1 on one side of the road. And then the barriers on this side, let me just select them. Bing. Ooh, let me turn off transparent. Bing, bing, bing. Right click, selection. Did that work? Not yet. Right click, separate by selection. And that is barrier 2. Barrier 2. All right. Now the rest of this road, the lights and the pylons and stuff like that, they're not going to be used in the racing game for the car to collide with. They're just there for visual. So I'll just rename them to be miscellaneous parts of my road. Now if I go back to object mode, everything goes back on the curve. And now I have my curve broken into pieces. There's barrier 1 on one side, barrier 2 on the other, the gravel on one side. Oops, and it looks like I got a piece of the freaking light. And the gravel on the other side. Then there's the road on one side and the road on the other side, and miscellaneous for the rest of it. Then I have my grid, which is the land. And the curve, I could just hide that. So this is my track that I just made. Now I'm going to export it so I could use it in Blender. So I could use it in Unity. First, let me save my work, and then let me do an export as a FBX so I could use it in Unity. And this is going to be track 5. Oh, before I do that, cancel. I will select the things that I want to actually export. I'll select each of them. Now they're highlighted and selected. Now I will say File, Export, FBX, call it track 5. Make sure I'm only exporting the selected objects, the meshes of them. And if I scroll down here, Apply, Transform, track 5. And I'm making sure it's to the location that I want for the game I'm working on. Export. So now that's my work here in Blender is done. Let me minimize Blender, and I can go into my Unity game where I'm making this new track for. And this is my track number 4. Let me save that. So I'm going to make another track. So here's track 4. Let me just save this scene as in my scenes folder. I'm in Unity now. Track 5 scene in Unity. All right. Now I could delete this track 4. I could delete it. And then here in my resources folder, I should see a track 5 right here, because that's where I exported it to this folder. I see track 5, right? And what I want to use instead of the materials from Blender using a texture, I want to use the same material that I have in Unity, a Unity material. So I made the Unity material by just kind of like dragging and dropping. I just added like a cube, say, right? I just added a cube. And there you are, cube, so far away. I added a cube, and then in my textures, I took that Blender texture and drag and dropped it on the cube, and then that automatically makes a material for me right here, right? But I already had those materials, so I could delete this. And I could delete this cube, but that's how I made these materials. So I have 2 Blender materials from the texture. So what I want to do is I want to take track 5 and I want to set it to use my Blender material for track instead, and just say apply. Okay. Now I could drag and drop the track 5 into the scene. I'm going to just drop it right here in scenario. Track 5 right there. It's at 0, 0, 0. And now you can see I have the track imported here into Unity for me to use it in the game. And that's how I made a track. Bye bye. That's it.